This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University. Today I want to answer the question, who will build the roads? This is that classic question that people always ask libertarians. This video is a follow-up to yesterday's video on Bitcoin and free markets, so be sure to watch that video if you haven't already. In that video, I talk about how centrally planned economies are not very good at providing goods and services for their people. And we've seen some interesting A/B testing done over time. For example, West Germany versus East Germany, North Korea versus South Korea. These are countries where they have the same original race, people, culture, but very different economic outcomes as a result of their political systems. In yesterday's video, I talked about how you should not have a committee that sets the price of wheat or the price of bread as they did in the Soviet Union. Likewise, you shouldn't have a committee that sets the price of money, and this is the big problem with the modern central banking system. What's better is neutral, digital, commodity money like Bitcoin. This is really the best foundation for free markets and an economy based on free markets. And so today I wanted to talk about another related mistake. It's a really common mistake today to think that all the really important things like education, healthcare, defense, food production, etc., should be delegated to the government. This is propaganda that's hammered into everyone's heads from childhood by the educational system, also known as government schools. And this is what you'd expect to be taught in government schools about how essential the government is. The whole thing, of course, is a bit ironic given how U.S. education has been dropping for many decades. And if you go back, most of us couldn't even pass an 1895 8th grade final exam. So this is education on a government standard. The similar question of who will build the roads. If we don't pay taxes, who will take care of the homeless? California spent billions to fight homelessness. The problem has gotten worse. If we don't fund NASA, who will launch the rockets? In 118 space missions, NASA has seen an average cost overrun of 90%. Over 16 missions, SpaceX has seen an average cost overrun of just over 1%. We've seen how many rockets SpaceX has been able to launch in the past few years. So here's really the trick. The government takes over an industry like healthcare. After a few decades, people forget that the industry ran perfectly fine and actually ran much better without the government and before the government takeover. And then what happens is people become brainwashed and people start wringing their hands and worrying what would happen if the government stopped providing that service, which it didn't even used to provide before. If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to help to support the channel. Click the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, share this video with a friend or family member. So let's see if we can spot the government-run store. Is it this Soviet grocery store in 1990? I sort of gave it away. We can see the wonderful stuff on the shelves. Or is it a modern capitalist grocery store in the US? It's actually possible for things to get done without government quote-unquote help. For example, yesterday we spoke about how the world somehow finds a way to manufacture pencils, which is a very complicated global process, without having a pencil czar in charge of it. Making pencils is a marvel of economic and social coordination, made possible by free markets and by allowing the price of commodities, wages, and finished goods to float in the free market rather than being fixed by price controls. The thing is, price controls or wage controls always lead to negative, unintended consequences, as we've seen most recently in California. As Peter St. Onge mentions here, California's minimum wage law backfires spectacularly. Just 2 months in, more than 10,000 workers have been laid off. Menu prices are hiking 8% or more, and restaurants are replacing jobs with machines or, of course, shutting down. Now the governor wants to exempt state operations from the minimum wage. Shame about the other 500,000 Californian workers on the chopping block. Now, free markets work extremely well to help coordinate human activity and thus to provide goods and services that make people's lives better. This is something we discussed in detail in yesterday's video. You don't need central planners to accomplish great things. I like this comment yesterday from Tom Redeye 312. How does London have the right amount of food without anyone planning it? My tongue-in-cheek response, doesn't King Charles send his horse-drawn carriage around to distribute food to the plebs? But this is the miracle of modern markets and human coordination of human activity. It's made possible by markets. That's how London figures out how to feed itself. So a false statement is really important things need to be handled by the government. People need to get over this idea that they've been brainwashed to believe. The true statement is really important things need to be handled by free markets. If it's important enough, you need to take it out of the hands of governments and hand it over to the free market. Take healthcare, for example. Shouldn't the government intervene here to make sure that prices and access remain affordable? This is a common modern thought, and maybe that's true. But if that's true, then why shouldn't the government intervene in every area to make sure that prices stay low and access stays affordable? And why not give everyone a rainbow and a unicorn while you're at it? If the government intervenes in the market to keep healthcare affordable, shouldn't the government intervene to keep houses and cars and everything else affordable, keep food affordable, maybe have some price controls like Cuba and the USSR had? Where should they draw the line? Because the Soviet Union set the price of everything. But before we move to a Soviet or Cuban model, we should ask ourselves why countries that have lots of government intervention, including price controls, seem to have such a low standard of living, like Cuba, for example. Here, they have inflation even though they have government price controls. If we look at healthcare in Canada, it now takes 13 weeks to get cardiovascular surgery. In the UK, you might have to wait 93 minutes for an ambulance, even if you've had a stroke. And the US healthcare system is terrible as well, which is why we need to take important things out of the hands of the government. Important things like healthcare, take healthcare out of the hands of the government, take education out of the hands of the government, and most importantly, and this is why this channel is about Bitcoin, take money creation out of the hands of government and stop brainwashing people in school that money is another one of those essential government services that can only be provided by the government. This is the fallacy of what's called chartalism. Stop brainwashing people that money needs any sort of government blessing to work, because it doesn't. Gold and silver emerged as money spontaneously over thousands of years. And it's a misunderstanding that people have gold and silver did not become money because governments somehow blessed them. It's actually the opposite. Governments began to issue coins made out of silver and gold because the free market had already converged on those precious metals. Government schools are responsible for teaching the big lie of chartalism that money can only come from the government. But don't be surprised when a government warns you how essential its own services are. Really, what else would you expect to hear from a self-interested monopoly? Superhero Armory Channel had a good comment here. He says, I would argue that we don't really have an actual free market. It's only a free market on a very superficial level. I assume he's talking about the U.S. Since government has its hands in virtually every major industry in the U.S., such as healthcare, auto manufacturing, airlines, farming, energy, etc. This is why prices are so screwed up, because the signals are all out of whack due to government involvement. But I'm sure you already know that. My response, yes, I agree. As we move to a Bitcoin standard, governments will be slowly defunded and forced to shrink and withdraw their tentacles from all of these industries, so Bitcoin can lead to more free markets at every level. Bitcoin helps to defund the sociopaths in government. Bitcoin helps to defund the banksters. Bitcoin will enable truly free markets, free from Soviet-style central planning, as we've been talking about for the past 2 days. So the classic question, who will build the roads? That's a little bit like asking who will make the pencils, or who will run the grocery stores, or who will build the rockets. The answer is anyone who wants to or thinks they can make a profit doing so. And in fact, in the first few decades of the U.S., most roads, as people know, were privately financed and constructed. Then you have to ask yourself, are modern government roads really that great? After all, there's the famous pothole, the length of a double-decker bus in the UK. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to be notified when I publish my next video, and let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Also, if you want to support the channel, you can consider getting a channel membership. You can just click the join button, or you can click the link in the pinned comment or the link in the channel membership description notes right here. And if you click on that, you'll see you can join at 2 different levels and help to support the channel: as a humble Bitcoin pleb, where you get loyalty badges next to your name and custom emojis, or as a toxic Bitcoin maxi for $4.99 per month, where you get a couple extra videos every month, a couple members only videos. So that's another way you can help to support the channel if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.